Greetings everyone, welcome to my kitchen. Today we are going to make omelets. For lab number 2, I'm going to show you how to make the omelet. I'm going to go over some of the procedural things that you need to do for this lab, and then you're going to have a chance to actually make the omelet. So with this video series, I would like you to use the video to kind of go through and make the recipes. I'd like you to use your recipe and learn how to make the food using both of those tools. Okay, special notes to remember with this particular recipe. You are going to need a frying pan and make sure that you complete mise en place, which is to find all of your ingredients, utensils, equipment, everything that you're going to need to make this recipe so that you are ready and prepared when you actually start. So I've gone through and made sure I had all my ingredients. I actually had to go to the store and get more milk because we ran out of milk. And I made sure I have all the equipment, and I'm going to go through a couple of basic things with you right now. So we have a couple of things. No metal in your spatula, or no metal in your frying pan. So if you're using a frying pan at home, please don't put metal in it. It's going to scratch the surface, which is not going to be good. Unless you have a stainless steel one, then you can do that, okay? Then you've got a couple of specific things for this. Our recipe says we need a half a tablespoon. You more than likely do not have a half tablespoon at your house, so you can very easily convert 1 tablespoon to 3 teaspoons, and then we just need a half amount of that, which would be 1.5 teaspoons of the olive oil for this. One of the other things I'd like you to learn for this particular lab is presentation. So you're going to actually garnish and set up your omelet so that it looks really nice on the plate like it was made in a restaurant. Okay, next I want to go through the ingredients for this recipe. You're going to need 2 eggs beaten. That means you're going to put them in another container, for example, a liquid measuring cup or a bowl, and you're going to beat them first before you put them into your omelet pan. You also are going to need half a tablespoon of olive oil, which we previously talked about. You're going to need 1/4 cup of chopped ham. I'm just going to use deli meat ham, so this is just ham that I would use for a sandwich. I'm going to put that into my omelet. I need 1/4 cup of chopped onion and pepper mix. A couple things I want to talk about: my pepper and my onion. So vegetables are really versatile in that you can use them even if they start to spoil or go bad. So for example, this pepper is starting to become soft. It's not spoiled. It's not bad. I'm just going to cut around that spoiled part, not use that. I'm going to put that in my compost, and I'll be able to use the other parts of the pepper fine. And then my onion actually started to grow in my refrigerator, this is going to be hopefully a science project we're going to do, collaborate with science on regrowing food. So this has already started growing roots, and it started growing the flower part or stem of the onion. So I'm going to use parts of this, and then the rest of it's going to actually get planted, and I'm going to try to grow this onion some more. And then our last ingredient is, of course, the shredded cheese. You can use whatever kind of cheese you have at your house. It doesn't even have to be shredded. You could use like slices of cheese as well, will work just as well for this. Okay, so for this next part with the ingredients, I followed the directions that are also listed in the ingredients. So I have to have chopped ham, which I've chopped this just a rough cut with a knife. You could use a paring knife or a chef knife, whatever you feel comfortable using. Normally, I would have pre-chopped ham for us to use for this recipe because I don't want you to focus on knife skills for this recipe. So if you have an adult that can help you with this, that would be great if you don't feel comfortable or know how to use a knife yet. Okay, then I've got my onion and pepper right here. Again, we usually have this pre-chopped at school because I buy a mix from Tops that has them already cut and they're in the freezer section. Then you can just scoop them and put them into your recipe. But for this, you will need to chop up your onion and pepper. Again, ask for an adult's help, or you can quickly find a YouTube video of how to chop an onion and a pepper. Okay, and I also have my cheese is pre-measured, so that's all set. And then I've got to take my eggs and I've got to crack them and put them into my separate container. This recipe doesn't call for milk in it, but I like to put milk in my personal eggs, so you can do that if you'd like. And then I also throw in a little salt and pepper. So I'm going to show you how to do that really fast before we move on to the next phase. So I'm just cracking my eggs. And we compost at our house, so I just take my eggshells, and instead of putting them in the garbage, I put them into our compost container, and then that goes out. Put a little shake of salt and some pepper, and then I just take a fork I'm just going to beat these eggs with the milk and the salt and pepper all together, because the recipe does say 2 eggs beaten. So this is done prior to putting it into the frying pan. That's really important for an omelet. You have to have this kind of ready before you put it into the pan. Okay, so then I've got my frying pan ready. I'm going to put my olive oil in here and get ready for the next phase. All right, so for this next part, what I'm going to do is I've heated my olive oil in my pan so that I can get that warm to the temperature that I needed to do. I put my stovetop on medium heat, which for me is between 5 and 6. It depends on what your stovetop looks like. And I've got my ham, onions, and peppers that are going to go directly into this frying pan. So I'm going to take these and put them in. I put my drizzle of 1.5 teaspoons of olive oil in. I'm going to put this in. And this is the key for really good omelets, is you cook the ingredients that are going into the omelet first. And I'll put my chopped ham in. And that makes really good omelets, as opposed to some people, and I can't remember the name of it, but there's a type of omelet where you cook the egg and then you basically just put the ingredients on the inside of an eggshell or the shell of cooked egg, and then you serve it like that. I don't like omelets like that. That's not my preferred method. So I always do my omelets this way. So I'm going to put all of those in there, and then I'm going to use a rubber spatula or a plastic spatula or whatever I have at my house, or a wooden spoon, to move this around, coating it with that olive oil and getting those vegetables everywhere and that ham kind of mixed in. Okay. Now, because we're doing this slab at home, say for instance you don't have onion at your house, or you don't have ham, or you don't have pepper, you can substitute anything that you'd like for this recipe. So if you have broccoli at your house, you want to make a broccoli omelet. If you have just egg and cheese and you just want to make a plain omelet, that's fine. It's really more about the practice of using the stovetop and working with the eggs, as well as the presentation piece, which is we're going to go over next. So I've got my mixture that's going to be cooking on the stovetop. I want that to cook and get those onions kind of softened up, get the pepper softened up, and then have my ham get a little bit warmed up before I put the egg mixture in. Okay, so now that I've cooked down my vegetables and my ham a little bit, you can see I've got some steam coming off of those vegetables. I've got the ham, has a nice little crisp on it. So now I'm going to take my egg mixture that I beat and that has my salt and pepper and my milk, and I'm going to pour that all over my veggies and ham. And I'm going to get all of that egg out. And then this is the most important piece with an omelet. Just let it go. Let it cook. It's going to cook from the bottom up. That's what we want. We want that nice plate of egg that's going to have all of that yummy ingredients mixed in there. And I'm going to let that just kind of cook by itself right now so that it can go to the next phase. So this is what we're looking for. We want the edges of the omelet to start cooking. So around the edge is going to start cooking, and then I'm just going to carefully lift up the omelet around the outside, and I'm going to tilt the pan so that it is letting that egg run underneath the omelet. This helps with the texture. It helps give a light fluffiness to the egg omelet. Helps it cook faster. When I was in college, I worked in our culinary program, and I worked at the dining hall that we had. And every Sunday morning, I would make omelets every day or every Sunday for 4 hours. So I got pretty good at this, and this is probably one of my very few talents I have for in life. So I know how to flip an omelet over, but the key is, if you want to flip it without using a spatula, is you have to let it cook and set all by itself like this, and then you're able to flip it using the pan, which I'm going to demonstrate in a minute. All right, so I only have one shot to do this, so hopefully I will not embarrass myself and be able to do it really well. All right, so I'm going to flip this omelet just using the pan, and then I get the omelet sliding down so that it's along the edge of the pan, and then I flip it over so it's flipped, and I can turn off the heat And I add my cheese. And I want the cheese all over the entire inside of the omelet. So it's all on the inside. My burner is actually off. This is something that's not written in the recipe that I would strongly encourage you do. And that if you have a lid for your pan, you put the lid on, you turn the burner off, and you just let it melt the cheese all by itself. That's really important. All right, so my omelet is done. I've got my cheese melted on here. It looks fantastic. I'm just going to slide the omelet directly from the pan, and then I'm actually going to use the pan to flip it over. Look at that gorgeous omelet that Mrs. Wadomski made. It's pretty cool. I'm going to finish this by doing a little bit of garnish, which is what I'm going to look for you to do. This is our class parsley. I'm keeping it alive at my house so we can use it when we go back to class. So I've got a little sprig right here of parsley. I'm going to put that on the side for a nice little garnish presentation. And then I also like barbecue sauce on mine. So I'm going to take some barbecue sauce and I'm going to drizzle it across the top to make a nice little presentation. And then I'm going to redo my parsley because I should do my parsley afterwards so I don't get sauce on it. I'm going to stick it there. And there's my finished omelet with garnish and sauce. And now this is great that I can actually eat and enjoy this. My suggestion is to make this for Mother's Day. Your mother will be super appreciative, or whoever your mother figure is in your life will be super appreciative of this. And I can't wait to see what your